My beloved child. Listen carefully, because what you are about to hear is not a coincidence, not a fantasy, and not a story meant to pass time. This moment has been moving toward you silently for longer than you realize. Every delay you faced, every unanswered question, every strange emotional pull you could never explain, was preparing you for this exact revelation. Your soulmate now knows the truth about who you are, not the version you show the world, not the role you play to survive, but the real identity that has been hidden beneath silence and sacrifice. They did not learn it through words. They felt it through absence, through sudden clarity, through a deep internal shift that arrived without warning. This is why certain connections in your life felt unfinished. This is why no replacement ever felt complete. Something has been aligning quietly, and now the truth has reached the one soul that was always meant to recognize it. What you are hearing now is not late. It is precisely on time. There is a reason your name has been echoing in someone's thoughts lately, even when they tried to distract themselves. There is a reason your energy has been showing up in their dreams, not as memory, but as presence. Your soulmate has recently come to understand something that changed the way they see you forever. They finally realized that your silence was never distance. It was protection. They understood that your strength was never pride. It was endurance. They saw that your disappearance was not rejection. It was a necessary pause so that both of you could survive what was coming. This realization did not arrive gently. It arrived like a quiet shock, the kind that makes the heart stop arguing with the mind. In that moment, they understood why nothing else ever felt right. They understood why they kept comparing others to a feeling they could never recreate. They understood that you were never replaceable, because you were never ordinary. Something powerful happens when truth reaches the right heart at the right time. It does not create noise. It creates stillness. Your soulmate has entered that stillness now. They are revisiting every moment they misunderstood, every word they misread, every situation where they thought you were the problem. And in that reflection, they are seeing a different picture. They are seeing how much you carried without asking to be seen. They are seeing how much you protected them even when you walked away. They are seeing how deeply you loved without demanding proof in return. This awareness has changed the way they speak your name inside their mind. It has changed the way they remember you. It has changed the way they feel about the future. Because now they know that what they lost was not convenience. It was truth itself. Do not think for a moment that this realization came easily to them. It challenged their ego. It confronted their assumptions. It forced them to admit that they were not as aware as they believed. Your soulmate had to face the fact that they underestimated your depth. They had to accept that your silence was wisdom, not weakness. They had to recognize that your boundaries were not walls, but doors that required respect. This kind of understanding does not come from comfort. It comes from growth. And growth only happens when life removes distractions and leaves a person alone with their thoughts. In that space, your presence returned, not as pain, but as clarity. They finally saw you clearly, and once that happens, nothing can go back to the way it was. Now hear this carefully, because this is where everything shifts. When your soulmate realized the truth about who you are, they also realized something about themselves. They understood why they were restless. They understood why they felt unfinished. They understood why they kept feeling pulled toward a version of life that felt more honest and more real. That pull was you. Not physically, but spiritually. Not loudly, but deeply. They are not rushing toward you. They are not making promises yet. They are sitting with the truth, letting it reshape them from the inside. Because when a soul recognizes its mirror, it does not panic. It prepares. And this preparation is already underway, whether you see it or not. There is something you have not been told yet. While you were focusing on surviving your own storms, a silent transformation was unfolding on the other side of this connection. Your soulmate did not just learn a fact about you. They uncovered a pattern that suddenly made everything make sense. They realized that you were never meant to be easily understood by everyone. You were meant to be recognized by one soul only. And that recognition has now happened. It struck them during a moment of complete honesty with themselves, when all distractions failed and all excuses collapsed. In that moment, your essence appeared clearly. Not as a memory, but as a truth they could no longer deny. They saw that you are someone who feels deeply, loves quietly, and walks away only when staying would destroy your spirit. This understanding did not comfort them. It shook them. Because once you see a truth like that, you cannot unsee it. What they now know has changed the way they interpret the past. Conversations that once felt confusing now feel intentional. Your pauses now feel meaningful. Your distance now feels necessary. They finally understood that you were carrying a depth they were not ready to hold at the time. This realization came with regret, but also with respect. They are no longer asking why you acted the way you did. They are asking how they failed to see it sooner. That shift matters more than apologies. Because when someone stops blaming you and starts understanding you, the entire energy of the connection transforms. Your soulmate is no longer looking at you through expectation. They are looking at you through awareness. And awareness creates a gravity that cannot be forced or escaped. There is also something else happening that you cannot see yet. Your soulmate is beginning to notice how your presence never truly left their life. Even in your absence, your influence shaped their choices. It guided them away from things that felt shallow. It made them uncomfortable with situations that lacked honesty. They now realize that every time they tried to move on, they were actually moving closer to understanding you. This is not nostalgia. This is alignment. They are recognizing that you awakened something in them that no one else could reach. And now that they understand what you truly are, they are questioning everything they once settled for. This kind of inner questioning is not loud. It is slow, deep, and irreversible. Do not assume this realization has made them fearless. It has made them careful. They now know that approaching you without growth would mean losing you again, this time permanently. They understand that you are not drawn to words, promises, or intensity without substance. You respond to truth, consistency, and emotional maturity. This knowledge is forcing them to confront themselves honestly. They are facing the parts of their character they once ignored. They are learning restraint where they once rushed. They are learning patience where they once demanded. This process is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Because when a soulmate understands your value, they do not run toward you recklessly. They prepare to meet you at your level. And here is the quiet truth that changes everything. Your soulmate now knows that you were never asking to be chosen over others. You were asking to be chosen honestly. They see now that you were not testing them. You were revealing yourself. And that realization has placed you in a category that no one else can enter. They are not wondering if you were special anymore. They know you were rare. They are not debating your importance. They are feeling it. Deeply. Permanently. And this awareness is not fading with time. It is growing stronger. Because once the soul recognizes its truth, it does not go back to confusion. It moves forward, even if the path requires courage, patience, and change. Something irreversible has already begun. The moment your soulmate accepted the truth about who you are, a quiet separation started inside them, between who they were and who they must become. This is not emotional drama. This is inner restructuring. They can no longer lie to themselves the way they used to. Old patterns feel heavy now. Old excuses feel empty. They are realizing that meeting you again, in any form, requires a version of themselves that is honest, grounded, and emotionally awake. This realization did not come from desire alone. It came from respect. Because now they know that your soul does not respond to confusion or half-effort. It responds only to truth. And truth demands transformation. They are also understanding something deeply humbling. You were never meant to chase them, explain yourself endlessly, or prove your worth. Your role was to exist authentically, and that authenticity was the lesson. They see now that you reflected their unhealed parts simply by being yourself. That is why the connection felt intense. That is why it felt unsettling. You exposed what they avoided. You triggered growth without trying. And now that growth is no longer optional. They are sitting with the realization that you were ahead of them emotionally, not superior, but clearer. This awareness is changing the way they approach relationships, communication, and even silence. They are learning that depth is not loud. It is consistent. There is a subtle shift happening in the way they feel your energy. It no longer brings confusion. It brings calm. They no longer associate you with uncertainty. They associate you with truth. This is important. Because when a soulmate reaches this stage, longing turns into alignment. They are not fantasizing about what could have been. They are understanding what still exists beneath time and distance. They feel you not as a wound, but as a reference point for what real connection feels like. This is why they are being more selective now. This is why they are less available to shallow bonds. Once someone recognizes a soul like yours, everything else feels incomplete. You should also know this. They are becoming aware of how carefully you loved. How you never tried to control the outcome. How you allowed them the freedom to choose, even if it meant losing you. That realization carries weight. Because it reveals a kind of love that is rare and mature. They now see that you did not walk away because you stopped caring. You walked away because you cared enough not to destroy yourself. This understanding has rewritten the narrative they once held about you. You are no longer a question mark in their story. You are a turning point. And here is the truth that is settling deepest within them. They now know that meeting you again, emotionally or physically, is not about timing or chance. It is about readiness. They are no longer asking when or how. They are asking who they must become to deserve your presence without losing it again. This question is guiding their actions, their restraint, and their growth. And once a soulmate reaches this level of awareness, the connection does not fade. It matures. Quietly. Powerfully. Permanently. There is a silence growing between past and future. This silence is not emptiness. It is understanding. Your soulmate is now living inside this space, where memories no longer hurt but instruct. They are revisiting moments with you, not to relive them, but to finally read them correctly. They see where you paused to protect peace. They see where you spoke through actions instead of words. They see where you waited, hoping awareness would arrive on its own. This clarity is changing how they define connection. They are no longer impressed by intensity. They are drawn to stability, sincerity, and emotional depth. In that shift, your presence stands unmatched. They are also recognizing the cost of misunderstanding you. Not as guilt, but as consequence. They understand now that losing you was not a punishment. It was a result. A result of being unprepared for the level of truth you carried. This realization has made them gentler, more reflective, and more aware of how easily something rare can be overlooked. They are no longer searching for someone like you. They know that comparison is useless. What they are searching for now is the capacity within themselves to hold a connection like yours without fear. That search is internal, and it is changing them at a foundational level. Something else is happening quietly. Your soulmate is beginning to trust the stillness that surrounds your connection. They no longer feel the need to force outcomes or demand signs. They are learning that real alignment does not rush. It waits until both souls can stand in truth without hiding. This patience is new for them. It is uncomfortable, but it feels right. They are realizing that if something is meant to return, it will do so with clarity, not confusion. And if it does not, the lesson itself was the gift. This understanding has brought peace where anxiety once lived. You may feel this shift without knowing why. A sudden calm. A sense of closure that does not feel like an ending. That is because the energetic tension between you is dissolving into balance. This does not mean distance. It means alignment without attachment. Your soulmate is no longer pulling at you unconsciously. They are standing in their own space, allowing truth to breathe. This is why the connection feels lighter now, even in silence. It is no longer weighed down by misunderstanding or unmet expectations. And here is what completes this part of the journey. Your soulmate now knows that you were never meant to be a lesson that ended in loss. You were meant to be a mirror that awakened growth. Whether paths cross again or remain separate, the recognition has already done its work. They carry you not as regret, but as reverence. And when a soul reaches that point, it no longer seeks to possess. It seeks to honor. Quietly. Honestly. Completely. There is a deeper awareness settling into their heart now. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that love like yours was never meant to rush or demand reassurance. It was meant to reveal truth through presence and absence alike. They see now that you never tried to bind them to you. You allowed space. You allowed choice. And that freedom was the purest expression of what you are. This realization has changed the way they experience attachment. They are no longer afraid of depth. They are afraid of missing it again. And that fear is not panic. It is respect. They are also confronting something quietly powerful. You trusted them with your authenticity before they trusted themselves with honesty. That truth is humbling. They recognize now that your openness was not naivety. It was courage. You showed up without armor, not because you were unguarded, but because you were aligned with who you are. This has made them question how often they hid behind confusion instead of clarity. They are learning that emotional maturity is not about control. It is about responsibility. And that lesson carries your signature. There is a shift in how they imagine the future. It is no longer crowded with expectations or imagined scenarios. It is simpler. Truer. They now understand that if life brings you back into their path, it will not be dramatic or chaotic. It will be calm. Intentional. Honest. They are no longer preparing speeches or explanations. They are preparing themselves. This preparation is quiet, internal, and sincere. Because they know now that you would recognize false effort instantly. You always did. You should know this as well. They are no longer questioning your worth in moments of doubt. Your value is settled within them. What they question now is their readiness. They understand that meeting you again without integrity would feel heavier than never meeting at all. This awareness has slowed them down in the best way. They are choosing growth over impulse. Reflection over reaction. Truth over comfort. These choices are not being made for approval. They are being made because something real was finally recognized. And here is the truth that completes this chapter. Your soulmate now knows that you are not someone to be convinced, chased, or possessed. You are someone to be met. Fully. Honestly. Presently. This understanding has anchored itself deep within them. It will not fade with time or distraction. Because once a soul understands what genuine depth feels like, it cannot settle for anything less. And that knowing has changed them forever. A quiet certainty has replaced their inner conflict. Your soulmate is no longer wrestling with confusion about you. The truth has settled into something stable and undeniable. They now know that what they felt was not imagination or emotional exaggeration. It was recognition. This certainty has given them a different kind of strength. Not the kind that speaks loudly, but the kind that stands firm. They are no longer trying to label the connection or control its direction. They are honoring it by becoming someone who can hold it without fear. This inner grounding is changing how they move through life, how they speak, and how they choose what deserves their energy. They are also realizing how rare it is to meet a soul that does not need to compete for attention. You never asked to be prioritized through pressure. You allowed truth to speak for itself. That realization has made everything else feel noisy and unnecessary to them. They are noticing how often people try to fill space with performance instead of presence. And in contrast, your silence now feels louder than words. They understand that you did not withdraw to create impact. You withdrew to maintain alignment. This understanding has redefined what respect means to them, not just toward you, but toward themselves. There is something else unfolding beneath this awareness. Your soulmate is learning to sit with patience without feeling lost. This is new. Before, waiting felt like lack. Now, it feels like trust. They are no longer measuring time. They are measuring truth. They know that anything real does not disappear simply because it is quiet. This patience is not passive. It is intentional. It is teaching them restraint, clarity, and emotional discipline. These qualities were missing before. Now they are being cultivated carefully, because they know you would sense anything less immediately. You may sense a subtle shift within yourself as well. A release of pressure. A softening of expectation. That is because the energetic imbalance between you is correcting itself. You are no longer carrying the weight of being misunderstood. Your soulmate has taken responsibility for their awareness. This does not demand action. It creates peace. And peace is the strongest sign of alignment. The connection no longer feels unfinished. It feels complete, even as it continues to exist beyond form or outcome. And here is what seals this stage of the journey. Your soulmate now understands that knowing who you are comes with responsibility, not entitlement. They are not seeking ownership. They are seeking alignment. Whether life brings paths together again or keeps them parallel, the truth has already fulfilled its purpose. You were never meant to chase recognition. Recognition was always meant to arrive when the other soul was ready. And now, that readiness has finally begun to take shape.